help but acknowledge the incredible gift of being here in this community of friends and fellow followers of this Aquarian conspiracy. This worldwide conspiracy of love that has been and is and will be an integral part of Celebration Circle, which is part of a much, much larger movement throughout the world to remember who we truly are and what we're really here to do. And I, for one, feel incredibly grateful to be here in the presence of my son, who may or may not be grateful to be here himself. I understand, and my dad, to be standing in the place of greeting the future and the past with an open heart is one of the most powerful things I can imagine. And this morning, as we look back on the summer of love in 1967, what we're really doing is looking back into ourselves and really looking to see what is it we're here about. And as we look back at the 50th anniversary of the blossoming of flower power and the countercultural revolution and the dawning of the age of Aquarius, what we're talking about is this desire to let go of the need to have the answer, which we thought might be blowing in the wind, and to let go of the need to be right and open into the great mystery that's evolving in our midst, and to acknowledge that whatever was, and it's just a preamble to what is, which is just a preamble for what is becoming. And it's all one continuous flow, evolving in consciousness. I'd like to acknowledge that we, the baby boomers, those who, quote, gave birth to the summer of love, we're standing on the shoulders of a generation that suffered beyond comprehension through the Great Depression and through World War II. An abomination which had not been ever seen on the planet before, and which ended with 2 horrific atomic bombs. And it is precisely the peace and prosperity that was ushered in by that great war and by that fight through the economic depression and trying to find some way of leveling out the economic playing field. It was that gave birth to this revolution we call the Summer of Love, which is just a point in time. It's something that's been blooming for a long time and will be blossoming, we hope, for many years to come. But at some level, it was a revolution against what brought on World War II, which is that ultra-rational, logical, industrial age of enlightenment, which had said that the brain was the most important thing, most important part of our body, and that linear thinking would take us to a place of scientific engineering of a perfect race and a perfect time and a way to be that we saw flowering in such a horrible way in World War II. That desire to just be right and to own and to figure out the right way was what gave rise to the horrors of Nazism and nationalism, which we'd like to think is in the past, but keeps rearing its ugly head over and over again, not just in Charlottesville, but in our own hometowns and in our own hearts, if we're honest about it. A great deal of hatred and separation still lives in each one of us. It must, because it keeps getting out-pictured, which is why it's so necessary to keep re-enrolling ourselves and each other in this great revolution of love and consciousness and peace and possibility that we're here to celebrate this morning. And isn't it amazing that the evolution toward a more emotion-centered, feeling-based way of being was born in the 60s and still lives now and is still blossoming. This notion that we're here for something more than just getting stuff and being right and having dominion over. We're here to be in relationship, in deep relationship with ourselves, with each other, with the planet, with the consciousness that we are here to serve. In 1967, I was 15 years old, just another teenager, but I had the good fortune to be selected to go to the Texas Ecumenical Youth Conference, which is a statewide group of high school students that were seeking to break down religious barriers between various denominations of faith. Texas Ecumenical Youth Movement. So it just so happened that that 4 or 5 day conference was centered around an encounter group process. They broke us up into groups of 10 to 12 young people, and we were taught to confront our inner selves and be real and face into the gestalt of the moment and be willing to trust and fall into each other's arms. And I said, wow, man. It makes total sense to me. 15 years old, full of angst, trying to still be on the varsity and the basketball team and the student council, trying to figure out how to do that and deal with the inner spiritual longings that I was already feeling. And suddenly this mechanism called the encounter group, the notion that we were called to be real with each other and to speak from a place of truth and open our hearts to each other made so much sense to me that I've been involved with it ever since. It's been my work, my passion is to find that place where psychology and spirituality and creativity meet, how to be real in the moment in a group of people so that we can take our realness and take it back to work and to our kids and to school. That's my passion. So I come by this honestly. And I remember hearing a story back then about a cook who made some particularly good stew, and all the folks in the diners asked the cook, what's in this stew? This is the most amazing. Can we have the recipe for this amazing stew? And the cook said, well, it's just beef and vegetables and onions. Beef by itself ain't much. The vegetables by themselves, nothing particular. And onions are just onions. But then I throw my whole self in. And that makes all the difference. And so at some level, this revolution in consciousness was about asking us to throw our whole selves in, body, mind, and spirit. The world that we had inherited from our elders was one built on the age of enlightenment, on an age of reason, which was very powerful and brought us to the industrial age and many wonderful gifts, but also brought us heartbreaking pollution and war on a scale we'd never seen before, and atomic bombs, and hatred and division. And this notion that if we could come back to our true selves by turning inward and becoming aware of our heart, not just the organ, but the heart, that center of feelings, become aware that we are the authority of our lives. The author, the ability to write the book of our lives, the authority lies with each one of us, not just with the authority of the national military industrial defense complex. That's what we were speaking about in those days. The military industrial complex, they were the ones to blame. They were the authority, had to be overthrown. Well, over a period of time, we've come to understand that they is us, and we are they, and we are one, and we're all in this together. And as each one of us take the responsibility to turn inward, to be connected with our feelings, to be connected with the truth of our bodies, to be connected with the earth and recognize that we are not separate from the earth. We don't have dominion over the earth. We can't continue to keep trying to tame the earth, but have to feel our relationship to the earth and to each other. And then to find a place to love in a real open heart, willingness to face into the mystery that I have no idea who you are. Yes, dear Kathy, you've got a friendly space and we had hugs. But truly, I don't know the depth of your sorrow or the bigness of your dreams and visions. I can't begin to know what your tomorrow is. Are you, Ellen? Are you, Mateo? Are you, Pop? All these years later, I have nothing but the barest clues of who each one of us is. But as I open again and again to a place of mystery and admit that I don't know who you are, I have no idea who Donald Trump is. I don't mind confessing I have a hard time trying to figure it out. Until I remember, I'll never figure it out because Donald Trump, like my son, like my wife, like myself, remains a mystery. But that's the point. If I'm willing to stop trying to figure it out and just be with the mystery of the other unfolding, then there's possibility for new seeds to grow in consciousness. Whether on the personal scale in a family, or on the national scale with our government, or the international scale. It begins with this willingness to know that I don't know, and we can figure it out together as we listen into the mystery and into that which is bigger than all of us. I call it God. I've got no problem calling it God, but that you can call it George, you can call it mystery, you can call it infinite mind. It doesn't matter. What matters is a willingness to open beyond my limited understanding of what is and open into the mystery here and here and here. That's the good news. The bad news is there's a shadow side to this. The shadow side to the flower power revolution is a whole lot of people spend a whole lot of time looking at their own belly buttons and not much further. Because turning in within to have awareness of the workings of spirit and the workings of the great mystery unfolding, that's powerful. If and when I can then move into the place of being with the other. But if I'm just looking within, and only looking within and never look out, never look around, just me, sing the great national song of America, me. If I only do that, then it's a lost cause. Particularly if I try to enhance it with a drug-induced expansion of consciousness. Drugs have their place, and they certainly were an integral part of the cultural unfolding. And there is a real damage done in our culture when turning within combined with a drug-fueled desire to keep the outside out and the inside in, which is totally different from opening to holding out. So, here we are in this moment. If 1967 was just a moment in time, this morning is also just a moment in time. A moment unfolding into the great mystery. And a moment to reiterate the invitation to us to keep moving forward in the direction of our dreams. But what direction is that? I don't know. But you know. And you know. And you know. Collectively know as we listen into the direction of our dreams. And remember the story that Alan Cohen likes to tell about a woman who was in one of his seminars who had been working on herself ever since she had suffered from bulimia and eating disorders as a teen, and gone through some horrible marriages and gone through some drug dependency, but was finally coming to a place of embracing herself and a willingness to move forward. And Alan Cohen, the workshop leader, noticed that one day she'd shown up with tattoos on her feet, an arrow on each foot pointing forward. He said, "Oh, those are cool tattoos, but what's that for?" And she said, "I had these done to remind me that I'm always moving in the right direction." Just moving in the direction of our dreams, one step at a time, as we remember, we are one. At least that's my story. It was then, it is now, and I hope it continues for a long time to come. And so